It's a truncated week, Diwali week, but we've sure enough closed with a bang. A 5% gain coming in for the index. In fact, not just that, on Friday's trading session, we way surpassed the 5350 mark as well. Pretty much reacting, or rather playing catch-up, I should say, to the kind of moves that we saw Thursday night from the global equity markets. A nice little spike up is what you've seen, 6% gain coming in for the Sensex. The broader markets, not all that great as the frontline indices, but really you don't have any reason to complain. It was all about metals this week and the kind of moves that you saw from the metals majors on Friday. Good traction on the LME, and that was auguring very well for the entire sentiment. So Sterlite, it's a triple-digit gain coming in, 15% up in between. Hindalco and Sterlite are all your significant movers. On the flip side, you had Sessagoa. Banks did not look all that great, so the likes of HDFC, SBI, all these stocks were looking tempered. Lots to chat about. While the week was truncated, there was heavy amount of news flow as well, lots of numbers as well to react to. Joining me today is Sudeep Bandopadhyay, MD CEO of Testimony Securities, joining in. Sudeep, hi, evening. How would you react to the kind of global news flow we've seen and how our markets reacted on Friday? Would you say this is just a one-off move and come Monday morning, it'll be back to square one?
Well, I don't think it's a one-off move. I think this is a move for which I think we've been waiting for a very, very long time. Some kind of solution, or rather steps towards solution of the Greek crisis. And that's very much in sight, with banks agreeing to take about 50% cut on the debt. I think that's a sign of maturity, and I think markets will move towards more sober phase instead of the wild volatility which we have seen in Europe, and that has caused a considerable amount of turmoil in the entire world. That probably is a thing of the past. Of course, we have a whole lot of other issues to solve. The problem is still not completely resolved. There are steps towards that which are being taken. So having seen what has happened in Europe, having seen what's happened in US, we think that positive development definitely, but are we out of the woods completely? May not be. I think we still have some way to go before we can say that we are completely out of the woods. There may be some correction and profit booking next week based on what kind of moves we have seen. Today already we are seeing some amount of concern in Europe because Italian bond didn't get that much of traction which the markets were expecting. So things are not that rosy, but of course things have improved.
Okay, not out of the woods quite yet, but things are beginning to look up. Deepak Mohani as well joins in. Deepak, hi, evening. What is your sense? Now that we've scaled up above 5350, do you think from here onwards it is going to be one-way move, secular uphill, or do you think we're going to try and consolidate around these levels for a while first?
We are most likely headed for a longer-term uptrend. So we will have some small corrections, but when you look at periods like 1 month ahead, 2 months ahead, we will be seeing higher values, otherwise known as a bull market. We've had 2 or 3 signals. The indices are at 3-month highs plus, very, very close now to crossing their 200-day moving averages. They're above their last intermediate tops. The Dow Jones has given a Dow signal as well as crossing its 200-day moving average. So you got a boost from global markets. So a lot of things are going on now which point towards a positive period ahead. Only unanswered question is we had these signals in February as well. That move only lasted 2 or 3 months. Would this be similar or would it be a bigger move? I'm inclined to think it's going to be a bigger move because a lot of stocks have higher bottoms in August than they did in February when that move was not so impressive.
Okay, on to the biggest newsmaker this week, and that has to be the banking and financial pike. While the 25 pips hike from the Reserve Bank of India was something that the market had already priced in, the double whammy came in the form of the lending rate deregulation, or rather the savings rate deregulation, which is why you saw a drop coming in on most of these banking counters, because it is going to make cost of funds only expensive from here. And of course, there is a lot of question on the margin performance of most of these banks. So I want to get you in on this. At a time when asset quality concerns in any case were looming large over the banking space, a news like this and the kind of impact that it would have on some of the bigger names, the likes of an SBI, HDFC Bank, or for that matter ICICI Bank as well. Well,
I think we have to look at it in its completeness. This savings bank deregulation was being talked about by RBI for some time, and I think it was in the offing for I think a couple of quarters at least. So that has now happened. Yes, it's definitely going to raise the cost of funds for the bank, and by about 100 to 200 basis points, depends on which bank. But on an average, the cost is definitely going to go up. There's another factor which has happened, and RBI has quietly put that thing also, which is for the housing loans, there will be no prepayment charges. We believe that that's also going to have small impact on the bank's margin. So these two factors are definitely negative. But on a different note, I would like to point out something which RBI has made it abundantly clear that probably, why probably, they are talking about most probably, this is the last interest rate hike in the near future. So I think that's a major positive news for the banks in the medium to long term. So if that news is followed through and we start seeing maybe reduction in interest rates from December onwards, I think that augurs well for Indian banking industry, credit demand, net interest margin and things like that. So at this stage, banks probably have hit their bottom. And it may be definitely worth looking at some of these PSU banks and aggressive private sector banks for medium to long term buy.
Deepak, want to get you in on two spaces, or rather two stocks which saw divergent moves. Yes Bank on one side and SBI on the other.
Yes Bank has been quite stable, quite steady, sideways since February. It's made a equal sort of bottom around September. State Bank, on the other hand, has had a pretty poor year. It kept declining. So from that perspective, given that Yes Bank has built a better base and is in a move which has been going on for 5-6 months, that looks more promising for the months ahead, at least in terms of percentage returns. Not that State Bank looks bad. The market conditions now would favor most stocks, but I would go with the Yes Bank.
The week augured very well for the entire metals universe. In fact, commodities were at large in action, and the LME prices clearly had their rub off on the metal names back home as well. So let's quickly bring in Manisha to talk about that pocket. Manisha.
The commodities advanced the best in the last 6 weeks. You saw most of those commodities run up because of the EU accord and also because the US third quarter GDP numbers came in better than what the markets were expecting. Well, for this coming week, you will see most of these commodity markets or other asset classes actually digesting the information. There also is this question coming in that how EU would raise so much of money, and also there is a bit of this concern shifting back onto the US budget deficit. But till the time, you have seen the gold prices post the biggest weekly gain since Jan 2009. It has been a good week for silver as well, up nearly 13%. Good week for the copper prices as well, up nearly 14%, and a 5-week high is how they were trading. And energy pack, even as they are trading off those highs, but you still saw a biggest weekly gain coming in for them as well since last 3 years there. In the coming week, you might see some profit taking happen in case of crude prices because the Japan industrial numbers haven't come in so good. Some consolidation is expected for the base metal prices, but the gains may just continue for the precious metal prices, especially gold, which has run up nearly 5% in the previous week. And if it continues to hold around 1750, that 1800 is a mark that markets are now awaiting for in that commodity.
Okay, Manisha, thanks for that. Two significant movers from the metals pack, and that was Hindalco and Sterlite as well. Deepak, want to get you in on both of these. Come Monday morning, is it time to initiate a fresh long, or do you think, after today's move, these stocks are going to take a pause?
Well, I'm not sure if they'll take a pause on Monday itself, but it would be a better idea to go long after they have taken a pause, which could well be Monday. If you take Hindalco, for example, it's been going up all week, so you're getting into the move 5 days after it's going up. So not in terms of timing the best moment to enter. But if somebody has built up a position, very much a hold.
Sudeep, what would you make of the kind of disappointing results that we saw from Sesa Goa, and what's the call on the stock from a long-term time frame now?
Well, I'll be very cautious, Ishan Sesa Goa. There are too many factors, too many moving parts as far as this particular stock is concerned. There is a regulatory issue building up in Goa. The company's performance hasn't been good. There are other corporate governance issues which have been raised by analysts from time to time. So I will go slow as far as building position in this company at this stage. Though fundamentally the company looks good, but at this stage I will advise investors to go slow on Sesa Goa.
Okay, exercise caution, that's the call coming in. And Sesa Goa, very disappointing numbers coming in on account of that forex gain. It was just a 1 crore PAT that the company posted. 205 is where it's closed for this week. Lots of mid-caps, they were flying around. So DB Realty, Polaris on the back of very good numbers. On the flip side, you had VIP and names like Titan, which disappointed the street, as well as Delta Corp added to that basket. So Deep, let's pick up the consumption theme right now. The likes of VIP, Delta Corp, as well as Titan, and the dips that these counters saw on account of the poor quarterly performance. Should one use this as an opportunity to buy further into the stock, or do you think now, in terms of profitability, there's a question mark for the quarters to come?
Well, I think this presents an opportunity for buying, but one has to be a little cautious. Consumption theme as a whole is excellent, and we firmly believe that the theme is going to continue. There is enough money in the hands of Indian consumers, both in semi-urban, rural area, and even in urban India. So consumption as a theme is excellent, but one has to be very careful about the PE multiples that some of these stocks are trading. Be selective in buying. If you talk about VIP and Titan, I think I continue to remain bullish on both the counters. These are excellent companies, very well managed, and they have significant scope from here on also to grow. But if you're talking about Jubilant, I don't understand that counter and the valuation there.
Okay, fair point. Deepak, what about Polaris and VIP Industries? Near term, what are the charts saying?
Polaris is looking very promising. It's made a good move today. It's moved up to 3-month high practically. This stock is also fairly volatile, so it can make fairly large moves in a short period of time, exactly what a trader would want. Perhaps not yet, I would say, ready for adding to a portfolio, because it's just started from a low. It doesn't have a higher intermediate bottom yet. VIP Industries, on the other hand, that's been in a long-term uptrend for quite a while, but stocks like these were being bought when there was a clear bear market. And I think because of that, they've got a little bit overvalued. There may not be that much of a move in them until the other stocks do some bit of catching up. So I think these Jubilants and VIP Industries, Titan, all these stocks, though they will do well for the next few months, they may not be racing ahead like they were doing earlier.
Okay. Sudeep, come Monday morning, and the street would be reacting to the last of the IT majors. That's Wipro's numbers, as well as you got big boy ICICI Bank as well coming on. What are you penciling in?
Well, I'm very cautious on Wipro. In fact, last couple of quarters we have seen Wipro number has not met the street expectations, and I don't see Wipro numbers doing any major, positive surprise. So I'll be cautious on Wipro. Whereas on ICICI Bank, we continue to remain bullish. I think it's an excellent buy at current levels. The stock has been beaten down significantly because of multiple factors. We expect a good quarterly number. The company, the bank has been expanding its net interest margins, and I think that should continue even in this quarter.